Okay, so when we think about cybersecurity, we usually picture this big, epic battlefield, right? But here's the thing. Knowing you're being attacked is only half the fight. The real game changer is knowing exactly where the attack is landing. I mean, think about it. It's the difference between a smoke alarm just beeping somewhere in a huge building versus a fire marshal pointing to a specific wire in a specific room and saying, that's the problem. Today, we're going to see how new research is basically giving that smoke alarm a map and a fire marshal's badge.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at how the cyber battlefield is changing. Then we'll dive into why our old defenses are full of blind spots. After that, we get to the cool part, building a much smarter sentry. The real breakthrough is pinpointing the exact vulnerability. So we'll check out how the system actually performed and wrap up with what this new era of defense really means for all of us.
You know, modern web apps aren't just simple websites anymore. They're these massive, sprawling digital fortresses. They're built with all these different pieces, microservices, APIs, you name it, all talking to each other. And for an attacker, every single one of those connections is a potential door, a window, or even just a tiny crack in the wall they can wiggle through. And trust me, they're getting really, really good at finding those cracks.
Now, our typical defenses, things like web application firewalls or WAFs, they kind of act like a security guard at the front gate. And this guard has a big photo book of wanted criminals. These photos are called signatures. If someone walks up who matches a picture in the book, the guard sounds the alarm, which is great. It works perfectly for catching the usual suspects. But what happens when a brand new attacker shows up? One whose face isn't in the book yet? Well, the guard just smiles and waves him right on through.
And that right there is the fundamental problem with what you could call the old guard of security systems. These intrusion detection systems, or IDS, they basically fall into two camps, and savvy attackers have figured out how to exploit a major blind spot in each one.
So, first up, you've got that guard we just talked about, the signature-based system. It's all about pattern matching, looking for those known signatures of bad code. And yeah, it's good at what it does, but it's always playing a game of catch-up. It literally can't protect you from a threat it's never seen before.
So you've got this huge dilemma. The first guard, the signature-based one, is totally blind to brand new what we call zero-day attacks. So to fix that, people came up with a second guard, the anomaly-based system. This one doesn't use a photo book. Instead, it spends its time memorizing what normal looks like, and it screams bloody murder at anything that seems a little weird. The problem? It's super jumpy. A new developer accessing a weird file for a totally legitimate reason, alarm. And pretty soon, you're buried under so many false alarms that you just start tuning them out, which is exactly what an attacker wants.
Okay, so if one guard is blind and the other is way too jumpy, what's the answer? Well, the researchers behind this study propose something brilliant. Let's build a smarter sentry. A hybrid system that takes the best parts of both guards and then adds a whole new layer of intelligence on top.
This new defense works in three really clever stages. First, everything comes through the known traffic filter. It's a quick check that just sorts out the obviously good traffic from the obviously bad traffic. Now, anything that's a little fishy or uncertain gets handed off to stage 2, the anomaly detector. This is our jumpy guard, but now its job is way more focused. But here's the absolute key. If either of those first two stages spots an attack, the system doesn't just block it. It kicks on stage 3, the forensic analyst. And this is where the real magic happens.
Because this is the true breakthrough. The whole goal shifts from just figuring out what the attack is to automatically discovering where it's happening. This is that leap from a simple smoke alarm to a detailed incident report from the fire marshal.
And as the researchers themselves say, this is a massive gap in our security today. Your current system might tell you, hey, you're getting hit with an SQL injection attack. But what it doesn't tell you is which database or which part of the code is the vulnerable spot. That's the part you're left to figure out on your own.
The answer is something called root cause analysis. The moment an attack is flagged, the system instantly starts connecting the dots. It compares the network data from the attack with the application's own internal activity logs to find the exact source. This is our fire marshal. It's not just yelling fire. It's saying the fire is in the server room, on the third rack, and it's coming from a faulty power supply in the database server. See the difference?
So this all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But the big question is, does it actually work? Well, let's take a look at the data and see how this thing performed when they put it through its paces.
So the researchers went all out. They used a huge, modern dataset with over 12 million network events. And they didn't just test it against one or two things. No, they threw a whole mix of 20 different modern attack types at it. Everything from brute force and SQL injections to denial of service attacks. I mean, the whole shebang. The kind of stuff that's happening out in the wild right now.
So for that first stage, the known attack classifier, they found a really clever optimization. At first, they trained it to spot all 20 specific attack types. And it did pretty well, almost 92% accurate. But then they thought, you know, some of these attacks are basically cousins. Like a denial of service attack over HTTP is really similar to one over HTTPS. So by grouping these similar attack families together, they boosted the model's accuracy a lot.
And that simple tweak led them to this, an incredible 97.7% accuracy for the final classifier. That means the very first line of defense can sort good from bad with almost perfect confidence, setting up the whole rest of the system for success.
So let's bring it all home. What does this actually mean? This isn't just a cool science project. The ability to automatically find the exact source of an attack is a huge deal with a massive real-world impact. The impact here is just enormous. For one, response times get slashed. No more panicked all-night searches for that needle in a haystack. Security teams can go right to the problem and fix it. Second, developers get super precise feedback to help them write much stronger, more secure code from day one. This also paves the way for future self-healing systems, defenses that don't just block an attack but actually start the repair process automatically. And finally, by being so intelligent about it, you cut down on all those distracting false alarms, letting everyone focus on the real threats.
So what we're seeing here is a huge step forward. It's a fundamental shift in our defenses, moving them from just being reactive alarms to being diagnostic tools. But, you know, this also kicks off the next round in that endless cat and mouse game. As our security gets smarter and more like a precise fire marshal, attackers will have to get even sneakier, like ghosts in the machine. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. What will they think of next?